I smoothed it out a little bit, but my hair looked really strange just now. It's Friday. It's Friday, and I haven't combed my hair. I hope we can get past this. Um, I wanted to talk today about this idea of using yourself as a character, looking at your life as a story. Something that's very valuable with this is this idea of inspiring yourself to take action and stand out and do something that is brave. So, this could mean public speaking, offering to do a workshop or a presentation you wouldn't ordinarily do. This could include running a meeting. This could include reaching out to potential clients, going to a networking event. Anything that makes you more visible and more public is where this courage piece is going to come in. And courage is very, very important. In fact, fear is the biggest barrier to our making an impact and our standing out in our particular corner of the world. Fear is the biggest barrier. And I think a lot about how you can build courage, how you can push through fear, because you probably, if you look at the fear you have when it comes to becoming more known, more credible, more influential, that fear is the fear of doing something that would be smart or strategic or valuable or healthy, right? Doesn't mean it doesn't feel dangerous or risky or just unpleasant, but it also, somewhere in there is like, well, this would be smart to do if only I could overcome my fear, my hesitation. So this is where this idea of looking at yourself as a character is very valuable, because a good story is built around a good character. And a good character is someone who faces a conflict but takes action anyway, faces a conflict but takes a step forward. That's how stories start. That's how stories continue. That's how stories reach their apex, their pinnacle, the reward, the thing the character wants most. So the conflict, sometimes it's often circumstantial. I need to get my boss's approval. I need to win the audience over. I need to become more credible in my field and known. But there's also an inner conflict. Always good stories have an outer and an inner conflict. And in this case, I'm choosing to talk about the inner conflict of fear. Ways that this shows up: imposter syndrome, inertia. I'm comfortable, I slash stuck a little bit. I don't necessarily want to move and I can't motivate myself to move. Um, right? These types of things. Imposter syndrome, I mentioned. Perfectionism is another great area where there's fear underlying that's keeping us trapped. The risk of maybe saying the wrong thing. I could go on, but this is a list of things. Um, and I think, today I had an idea that really, I think it flips this idea into something maybe that's even easier to motivate ourselves to do. And it's this: take the pressure off you as the character making the right decision. Because a good character is also a character who makes bad decisions. This occurred to me while watching this little Irish dark comedy called Bodkin, starring Will Forte, and it's great. And it kind of reminds me of Deadlock, which is I think it's I believe it's Australian or New Zealand. I'm sorry if I'm getting that wrong, but amazing dark comedy, true crime kind of show that I loved. And so Bodkin's kind of similar. And it's fun, and it involves these characters who make bad decisions. They get themselves into risk. They follow the clues in ways that put them more in danger. And they don't do this because they're masterminds. They do this because they have this drive to find the truth, but often this includes making bad decisions. So I wanted to share that and to reflect on that, because how in our careers, how in our lives, how in our businesses can we uh, allow ourselves to make bad decisions? Weird idea, I understand, to talk about today, but also very useful and valuable, right? Making bad decisions sometimes feels a little bit less pressure than trying to make good or perfect decisions. I don't know about you, I can really get frozen in trying to plan 10 steps ahead, trying to do 4D chess with a business idea, right? Well, what would it look like in year 2, year 4, year 6? And so that's great. That's not a bad instinct. But what ends up happening is then I don't take any action at all because it's too overwhelming. But here's the thing about making decisions: everything turns on whether or not we keep making decisions. We get stuck when we stop making decisions. And being stuck is its own decision, just to be clear. So, what that means is that you are decisive, even if you're choosing incorrectly or not, right? You're choosing based on some priority that feels important to you. And what I want to get at today is that priority fear, or is that priority success, reward, the thing you really want? Because either way, you're going to make decisions on what you prioritize. So I can get stuck in this over strategizing, perfectionizing, waiting too long to take an idea to market. And I wanted to call that out because the truth is, when we take action, we achieve clarity on the other side. Clarity comes after action, not before action. How do we get into action? We make it small, we build in rewards, we make it motivating. But what if we deliberately made it imperfect? What if we allowed it to be flawed? What would that do for us if instead of trying to get it right, we were willing to get it wrong? What does it look like to make bad decisions? So there you go. There's a inspiration from a TV show that I needed to hear today, because sometimes when I have a decision that I have an instinct that it's the right decision, I'll then drown out that instinct with lots and lots of focus on what could go wrong, why it might not work. Well, what if it did work? What if nothing went wrong? What if you got where you were trying to go? Right? A bad action isn't necessarily the end of the story. In fact, it's in a certain way just as good as a good action. It's fun to watch, right? So there you go. That's the idea. Are you willing to take bad actions? Now, I'll just comfort us with this truth, which is we make decisions all the time that could be bad decisions. We make them using our instincts, our resourcefulness, our intuition, and we make them using the information that we have at the time. We're always doing this even when we don't see it. So remember, when it comes to a decision that you feel like you're stuck in, you can't make, remind yourself that you make decisions all the time without even knowing it, and many of them pay off. And those that don't, you deal with, you recover from. So you have this ability to be resilient. You have this ability to motivate yourself. And now we just want to take that and apply that to this big, meaningful risk. And I hope this idea speaks to you today, that it's okay as the character in the story to make bad decisions, to make foolish actions. As long as they move you forward, then it's still a good story. And wherever you end up, you're going to be more clear from there than you are before the decision from here.